This is big breaking emergency news. The North Carolina governor has just spilled the beans on the plan of what's coming next for North Carolina. All right, we've all been following the story of what's going on, and there's still hundreds of people missing. And he is warning that we are going to see land seizures. The government is going to take people's land, and he is saying that they are going to designate major areas as unlivable and unbuildable. So let's get into the details here really quick, guys. Please just hit that like and hit that subscribe. I'm posting every single day, keeping you guys updated on this big urgent news, and it just helps to get these warnings out. I appreciate that. So this is what the North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper said. All right, I want you to listen to this video here. He did an interview, and he is telling us what is going to happen with North Carolina in the aftermath of all this as well too. And we've also seen massive FEMA camps being set up. There's a major FEMA camp being set up near Asheville, North Carolina, and this thing is insane. This has so many trailers and homes and all these things set up, parking lots, this whole area. But it's only for the FEMA workers. There's no people that are allowed to live there. It's like an entire community. They've built this giant camp, and there's no residents living there though. So I want you to listen to what the North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper just said of what's coming next, and I want you to tell me what you think of this plan.
For sure. North Carolina had two 500-year storms within 20 months of each other in the same place. We just had a 1,000-year storm event in southeastern North Carolina, 1,000-year. We know that that's not true anymore. We know that these events are going to become more and more intense. So we've spent a lot of time being smart about the way we approach rebuilding. We go into communities, we work with them, we have plans for local governments. In some areas, you just shouldn't build back. And we've been able to convince certain communities and people that buyouts are better, and you create green space that soaks up flood water that comes and protects surrounding areas. When you do build back, you have to invest more in order for property to be more resilient. But when it is elevated, we even saw in some of the storms subsequent that those properties were unaffected because we had made them more resilient. So those are the challenges that we're...
All right, so a couple key things he said there. Right? He said that some areas they are just not going to build back. They're not going to let people rebuild their homes. Their homes have been destroyed, and they're just saying, hey, we're going to eminent domain you and buy you out. And he's saying it's better. It's for your own good. And they're just going to make that into a green space, a water sink area. That's what he's saying. So people's homes, instead of saying, hey, we're going to make this right, make it whole, help fix people's homes. Nobody had flood insurance. Nobody had insurance for this. And a lot of people still have mortgages. They're still paying the mortgage due this month. After the hurricane destroyed their house, they still owe all this money on this property and home that no longer exists. They're going to have to foreclose on it or go through all these different processes to get this off of their credit, right? It's going to ruin a lot of people financially as well too. And he's saying they're just going to buy them out, right? He also said that, let me know what you think of that plan. It's kind of crazy that they are just going to take people's land. And there's been talks of even things like lithium mines being set up there too. There's multiple different companies that are trying to set up and get the permitting and get the land to do lithium mining in this region of the country, right? He also said too something that was interesting, that he said these were 500-year storms, 1,000-year storms, but he said that's not going to happen anymore. It's going to be more frequent. He's saying these 1,000-year storms, 500-year storms are going to happen more often. He said this could happen again, right? Potentially we could have another 1,000-year storm or 500-year storm that hits this part of the country and causes another massive flood, right? Let's hope that doesn't happen, but he is even warning us that these things are going to become more frequent. And he also went on to say, too, that there's going to be new building standards, building codes, probably new insurance as well, too. They might require people to have flood insurance in this part of the country in the near future. Just like Florida, we might see flood insurance required all the way up in the mountains in Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Alabama. All these countries do have, or all these states do have lots of flooding. And that may be required in the future, which means more expenses for people and more expensive home prices as well, too. And we also are going to see building codes become more rigorous. He's saying that certain places to build a house, you might have to put it on stilts, which is a good idea, but it's probably going to cost more to build houses and build homes and increase prices as well, too, in this area. And just taking out chunks of land, entire neighborhoods, entire areas, they're going to condemn essentially and say that you are no longer allowed to live here. It's not safe, and we're going to take it over. Right? So that's what the North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper is saying. And this is what people have been worried about. They've been worried that in the aftermath of this, they're going to be taken advantage of. Everything's been destroyed. Everything's been taken. There's still hundreds of people missing, by the way, and there's potentially hundreds more, maybe even thousands more, that are unreported missing, where its entire families just gone, swept away, buried under mud, debris, just gone, washed away. And nobody's even reported them missing because they really didn't have any other family, right? Entire homes, entire families gone and washed away. So that's what's going on there. Let me know what you guys think of this plan. Please just hit it up for me down below. It helps get these warnings out. I appreciate that. Let me know what you think too, guys, of this FEMA camp that is being set up. This is supposedly a camp that's being set up for the FEMA employees that are working. They're setting up a massive base, and they've done a ton of work here, right? They've drawn all these lines, gotten in all these trailers for homes and mobile homes, all these things. They're filling them up, and they have a lot of people living in this little compound that are FEMA employees. But why hasn't anything like this been set up for the residents here? Okay, it's almost winter time too. It's getting cold. It's starting to get cold in this part of the country. They've already had some cold nights. It was actually snowing a few nights ago here, not heavily, but it was lightly snowing. And it's getting cold. And a lot of these people are in tents. They're just like camping out on their property in a tent with no utilities, okay? And they've been doing this for weeks already, and now it's starting to get cold. So people are buying heaters, and they're getting heat packs, things like this. They're getting more winter clothes. People are getting ready for winter now up here too, because they're just, a lot of people have nowhere to go. All right, so crazy situation that's going on here. We should have enough resources to make this right for the people in North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, that have all been affected by these storms recently. But the situation just keeps getting worse. Now they're going to take people's land, and I'm worried this is going to happen in Florida eventually too, because Citizens Insurance in Florida, one of the largest insurance providers in Florida, that is almost a insurance provider of last resort when people cannot get insurance for their properties in flood zones. It was a state-backed insurance provider. They just collapsed, and they just ended all their policies. Over 600,000 people. So I'm worried that we're going to reach a situation in Florida where insurance companies refuse to insure certain regions, areas, and they're no longer going to be able to develop these areas. And they're going to essentially have to buy them out, or they're going to operate all with cash, right? They're not going to be able to get bank loans or mortgages or any type of loans to back these properties or developments because they cannot get insurance to back them up, right? The banks are not going to give out loans if you can't secure insurance for these properties. So we could see similar things starting to happen in Florida too, and then the government come in and say, hey, we're going to buy you out. All right, so let me know what you guys think. I hope you guys are staying safe and staying prepared out there and staying stocked up. All right, we're going into winter now, so you need to get your winter preps ready. It's already starting to cool down. It's already starting to snow in certain parts of the country out west, and regions out there are already getting some snow now. All right, so start prepping for that and getting ready for that. We could see a big winter potentially as well too. Big snowstorms knocking out the power and causing emergencies like that. This happened in Buffalo, New York. Right, the power was out for weeks after a massive blizzard. This happened at the end of 2022, and there was chaos. Right, stores were looted and people freezing in their cars. Right, so just be ready. Winter's coming. The end of the year will be here before we know it. So thank you guys. I hope you guys have big blessings for your life and your family, and I hope you have a big old blessed day.